Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome APMA President Dr. Edwards.
Hi, Dennis. Attendees and faculty, my board members, most of them, staff, sponsors, and exhibitors, my friends and family, and my honored guests. My name is David Edwards, and I'm president this year of APMA. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to Salt Lake City, home of our National Scientific Meeting in my home state of Utah. It was 1984 when we were here in Salt Lake City last. I was president of the APMSA that year. A fun bookends on a career, so it's great to have you here. In a few minutes, I'll have an opportunity to introduce you to our esteemed colleague. Please silence your cell phones. No. But our esteemed colleague, Dr. Barry Scurran, and he'll share with you a bit of the wild ride of his career from musician to Chief Compliance and Ethics and Integrity Officer with the Permanente Medical Group. But at this point, I have some remarks that I'd like to share with you. Since my inauguration in March, I've had a wonderful opportunity to travel around the country representing APMA, to talk to leaders of other podiatry organizations, as well as other healthcare organizations. And what I've heard consistently during those conversations is that members are more than ever examining the value of membership in every organization. What I want you to hear today is whether you're a loyal member of APMA of many years or whether you're a new member still trying to assess your return on investment, or a former member who has left the fold, that APMA is here for you. APMA exists to deliver the value to our members that podiatrists, no matter what your needs are. If you're running a practice, APMA is for you. Over the years, many of our members have expressed the challenges of finding affordable health care insurance for themselves, their families, and their staff. APMA is working a solution that's so exciting. It'll be for both large and small groups, and we anticipate that it will create a significant savings for our members. We're still finalizing the details, but aim to roll out the program by fall. I encourage you to stop by our booth number 737, you can remember that one. But if you'll stop by over the next few days, we can help you understand more what's happening and learn from our reps from the Novetta, who is our partner, who will be here to help answer questions. It's amazing, but this is a chance that you'll have to be able to save more money anticipated than you pay in your state and national dues. So please stop by and learn more about that exciting health plan. The APMA registry and the MIPS app are also putting money back into our pockets as members. For the 2018 year, the performance on average, an eligible podiatrist would have seen penalties of $4,500 with Medicare Part B reimbursements in the year 2020. With the app and the APMA registry and the MIPS app, which are both free member benefits, take advantage of those. There are hundreds of podiatrists who successfully avoided penalties this year, in excess of $1 million worth of penalties that would have been seen. The number will go up for the performance year in 2019 with our member podiatrists facing potentially $6,300 in penalties. If you're not already taking advantage of this registry, get with it. Use the app, use the registry. The registry will be a powerful tool beyond reporting too, ultimately. So come by the booth and learn more about it during the meeting. Last year at this event, we shared some news that APMA was investigating the best way to bring its members a podiatry-specific EHR that would be able to integrate with our registry, and that's one of the key strengths that we need. This year, I'm pleased to announce that APMA, NextGen Healthcare, and Dorina Solutions have entered into a memorandum of understanding that defines a forthcoming partnership. This partnership will benefit podiatrists by combining the power of your national association, a data registry, and a MIPS-focused app, all on an electronic health record. In view of our partnership with NextGen Office and its potential to strengthen the APMA National Data Registry while offering extended services to members, we encourage you as members of APMA to consider using NextGen as your preferred EHR provider. Look for more to come about this partnership, but if you come by the APMA booth today at 1:30 or on Friday at 9:40, there will be a session in our mini theater that will be covering this exciting new development. You can understand and learn more about it. Finally, if you're one of those 1,000 members, more than 1,000 members who are depending on our coding resource center, podiatry-specific online coding hub, I want you to be sure and stop by and visit the APMA booth during this meeting to be able to renew your subscription. Why would you do this? Well, this year, CRC is celebrating its 10th anniversary, and attendees at the meeting will receive an exclusive retro rate of $189. So that's the original price from the CRC in 2009. So a significant discount from the current rate of $329. Stop by the booth, re-register. We're excited to be able to offer that. If you're a subscriber or have ever wanted to be one, this meeting is the time to lock in that very special rate. Here in Utah, we actually value the CRC so highly that our state component organization has actually made it a member benefit. So if you're from Utah and you haven't taken advantage of this yet, figure it out. So you can come to you can see that APMA is for podiatrists that are running a practice. Well, what if you're a young physician? Is APMA for you? Yes. If you haven't, you should visit our Young Physician Transition Series. It is upon the web, and I'll tell you how you can find that, but APMA listened to our young members. We have a young member physician who is on our board of trustees. We have a young member leadership panel, and as APMA listens to our young members, they have helped tell us and helped us develop an easy-to-use resource that's designed to take you through each year of residency and into your early years in practice. The YPTS, Young Physician Transition Series, at apma.org/YPTS includes everything from resources that will help you cope with stress and student debt, to manage your board certification process materials, to licensing and scope of practice, but there's specific tools for each of your years in your young member time frame in those first 10 years. Plus, it provides APMA renowned education in coding and reimbursement. As you may have heard, we have launched an APMA podcast too, and while it's available to the full membership, APMA's podcast was developed with our young physician members in mind. We're working on it very diligently to bring more information to you about it, and it's in a format that'll be familiar and convenient. The APMA podcast kicks off with an introduction into coding series, and it's hosted by our APMA coding consultant and certified professional coder, Dr. Jeff Learman. We thank him for his help. This series covers topics such as ICD-10 codes, modifiers, CCI edits, and more. Additional series on a wide range of topics are being recorded, and we look forward to being able to launch this next series soon. But I would encourage you to listen to the podcasts at apma.org/podcasts. If you're an employed physician, APMA is here for you. In addition to all the free resources that I've mentioned, APMA offers a steep discount on continuing education for its members, and not just at this meeting, but events such as our coding seminar and other educational opportunities. We also provide a wealth of webinars at our apma.org/webinars, all of which are free to our members, and they are archived. So if you've missed them, you can go back into those archives, and a wealth of webinars on a variety of topics. Take advantage of the things that we offer. If you're just starting out and need help getting your name out to patients, APMA has that covered also. In our Promote Your Practice page, you can find advice about using social media. You can find sample referral letters, patient newsletters, and other materials. Plus, we conduct a patient education campaign at least twice a year, and a great opportunity to share those materials with your patients for our members' use. If you're an employer, and your employer will also be pleased to know that APMA is advocating for you every day. We advocate for appropriate reimbursement. There's a saying, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. We found that out last year when we were enjoying our national scientific meeting, and CMS tried to establish a discriminatory podiatry-specific G-code. In the midst of that, we're proposing the collapse of the E&M codes. APMA was involved in coordinated effort to soundly defeat that, and I'm happy to say that that was averted. And not only did we come out of that not with a decrease, but actually an increase in our reimbursements. APMA is the only podiatry organization with a seat at the table at CPT and a voice in determining what appropriate RVUs you do for your work. If you're interested in being able to practice to the full extent of your education, training, and experience, APMA is for you. No other organization is advocating for podiatrists in the way that APMA advocates for podiatry. And when podiatrists are being discriminated against by a hospital system or a payer, APMA steps in. When a state such as South Carolina or Michigan and yes, my home state of Utah seek to update their scope of practice and reflect today's podiatrist training, they turn to APMA support. And because of our repository at our Center for Professional Advocacy, we have great resources that can help everyone in every state, and we're here for you. We're not only your advocate with legislators and payers, but with other healthcare organizations and professions. APMA has spearheaded a critical task force that has brought together the American Association of Orthopedic Surgeons, the Association of Orthopedic Foot and Ankle Surgeons, the American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons, and the APMA. Here with Dr. Christina, just in June, we visited the AAOS headquarters, governmental headquarters in Washington, D.C., with a critical task force that's been put together by those 4 organizations. And there we're having high-level discussions of things that are collaboratively of interest and import to each one of us. From that relationships, we've not only been able to strengthen our relationship within the orthopedic community, but within our own sometimes divided profession. APMA is forging a stronger relationship than ever with ACFAS, and we realize how much we can do together. We're forging that relationship stronger with the orthopedic surgeons. We're with the American Medical Association, the American Osteopathic Association, the Society of Vascular Surgery. Just within the month of June, met with each of those organizations. At the AMA House of Delegates, we had Dr. Christine and I had an opportunity to be with them and to be able to assess the pulse of what's happening within their organization, resolutions that they had carried forward that are critical for us to be aware of. We'll be with the American Osteopathic Association later this month, and we had great representation in June with the Society of Vascular Surgeons. All of these are for your behalf and benefit. We welcome you to Salt Lake City. In just 2 weeks, we celebrate here in Utah what we call Pioneer Day. It's an occasion that commemorates the entry of Brigham Young and the first group of Mormon pioneers into the Salt Lake Valley. And in honor of their trailblazing spirit, that celebration occurs. That trailblazing ancestry also sets Utah apart, but it sets our profession apart. We're a profession of trailblazers. In my inaugural speech, I spoke about how important each one of us are in the pioneering that we're doing, not just with those who have come before, but with those that are coming out new now, stepping into new frontiers and new directions. Our pioneering spirit is part of our profession and our identity, and it's a fundamental characteristic of our association. APMA is blazing new trails. We're doing it every day for you. We are thankful that you've come to join us at this great meeting. I wish you a wonderful meeting, and thank you for being here. It's now my sincere pleasure to be able to introduce our colleague, Dr. Scurran. Barry recently retired after more than 44 years with the Permanente Medical Group, the largest medical group in the United States with more than 8,000 physicians in Northern California. He was formerly a member of the executive staff to the CEO and served as the Chief Compliance, Ethics, and Integrity Officer for the medical group. He was also the physician to lead the National Physician Recruiting. He previously served as the first podiatrist to be named the Physician-in-Chief for the Hayward and Fremont Medical Centers and the greater Southern Alameda area from 2005 to 2011. Dr. Scurran received his BA from the University of Florida and graduated summa cum laude from the Ohio College of Podiatric Medicine in 1973. He completed his residency in foot and ankle surgery from the former Levine Hospital in Hayward, Highland Alameda County Hospital, and the California College of Podiatric Medicine. In 1974, Dr. Scurran joined the Permanente Medical Group as the staff podiatrist in Hayward, and then moved on to various roles within the medical center, including chief of podiatric surgery and chief of the professional education. In 2001, he was appointed to additional administrative roles, including assistant physician-in-chief for the member service access and and information technology. As a researcher and an educator and a physician leader, Dr. Scurran has authored numerous articles in professional journals. He's edited 2 editions of the Foot and Ankle Trauma. He's been a member of the clinical faculty at Stanford University and the California College of Podiatric Medicine. And he's lectured extensively at local, state, and national and international meetings. He served as president of the American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons and the California Podiatric Medical Association, and he's certified in foot and ankle surgery by the ABFAS. He served as a member of its board of directors as well as its examinations committee chair. In addition, Dr. Scurran has served as the chief medical consultant for the Medical Board of California. He completed his executive leadership training at the University of Southern California, the University of North Carolina, University of Michigan. Before he was Dr. Scurran, he was Barry, and he began a rock music career with the Monday Quartet. I'll let him share the rest of that story with you. When he's not playing on stage, his bass guitar, he can usually be found with his family, especially his grandchildren, or cooking, riding his Harley, or partaking of excellent California food and wine. Perhaps the most interesting part of Dr. Scurran's story is his role in his personal choices that have played in the evolution of his professional life. I'll let him tell you more. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Barry Scurran. Rock on.
So the introduction was so long, I'm out of time. Are there any questions? When I was asked to speak, I was a little confused because I know that there were people who wanted to hear band stories more than medicine stories, and we'll throw a few of those in. But I tried to figure out a way to make this less about me and more about decisions and how you make decisions and what good decisions look like, what bad decisions look like, how you handle both of those. You can't make every decision perfectly, but I think that looking back, I've learned a lot, some formally, some because of my role as a podiatrist and with CPMA, APMA, ACFAS, some with Kaiser Permanente, working my way up to be right below the CEO, which was kind of cool, I must admit. And having time now to reflect on it, because 3 months ago I retired, and never thought I would do that. But let's talk a little bit about the road that you take. Yogi Berra was famous for a lot of things that he said, but he said one of the things that he's known for. He said, push the button. He said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. And that's a yogiism, but I think you have to have some criteria, some reason to take a fork in the road. You have to have some passion. So I've been lucky enough to have two passions. One was medicine. From the time I was 6 years old, I said, I'm going to be a doctor. That's all I want to do in life, is be a doctor. But along the way, in 6th grade, my friend Kenny came home with a drum. And I said, I want a drum. And I went to the music teacher, and the music teacher said, we only have one instrument left, and it's a big bass fiddle. So I brought it home. My parents freaked. And my dad said, though, if you're going to play it, you damn well better be good at it. And at 15 years old, I made my solo debut with members of the Dallas Symphony. I did practice. I didn't practice anywhere near as much as I should. And this is a picture of 15-year-old me playing the Amati bass, which is a priceless instrument loaned me by my teacher. But medicine was still what I wanted to do. And I was lucky enough to be awarded both a music and a academic scholarship to the University of Florida. And I decided that, isn't there some way that I could do both? So I turned the music scholarship down. There's a decision there. There's a decision tree. We'll talk about what that looks like in a few minutes, but I ended up doing both. I got really lucky. Had a good academic career at Florida, and was asked to join a band called the Monday Quintet. And it was a damn good band. These were guys singing four-part harmony when everybody else was doing four-part harmony was four people, four men and women singing the same note. And this band was actually singing harmony. And the Monday Quintet had a hit record. And signed with a label called Paris Tower, You haven't heard of Paris Tower. Paris Tower had a distribution of 2.5 states, and that was it. There's decisions. You got to make decisions, and it was a wrong decision, but it still led to some more interesting things. The Mondi Quintet got to hang with some interesting people. The top left is a group that was at that time called the Almond Joys, and many of you may have heard of the Almond Brothers, and we were co-opening acts on tours across the southern United States. Down below, on the bottom right, is a young gentleman named Tom Petty. When we used to rehearse, there was a little kid, 12, 13, 14 years old, sitting right about where the podium is. And the reason he did that is, if you look on the bottom picture, the blonde person is Don Felder. Don Felder is known, and now we're getting into the band story. Don Felder wrote Hotel California and owns it. And Don is a fabulous guitar player, and Tom Petty was his student. And Tom Petty used to sit right where that podium was. The four clean-cut looking guys are a band called The Circle. And you may not remember The Circle. They had a couple of hits called Red Rubber Ball. I can't remember their second one, but it's not that important. The reason that they're in there is we were, for a while, a professional opening act. Still studying, still want to be a doctor, but professional opening act, traveling with did Otis Redding and the Beach Boys and things like that. But we opened for The Circle at one of these, where every university has a spring fling or something like that. The Circle invites us to come to New York with them. Their manager wants to hear us. We don't know who their manager is. We go to New York. We play a few clubs. It turns out you got to be union to play the clubs in New York. We're not. We have to leave. And they said, that's a shame because we had set up a dinner with our manager. Our manager only manages 2 bands, us, and his name was Brian Epstein. The other band he manages, the Beatles. So another decision made not necessarily with criteria. There wasn't much criteria in that. So there's still decisions to be made. Do I want to go to medical school, or do I want to stay with the band? Now, you probably hear stories of bands breaking up all the time or taking a hiatus. So we elected to take a bit of a hiatus, and that made the decision easier. And so this is my medical school class from the University of Florida. I'm in the bottom row, the 1, 2, 3, 4th from the left. And I must tell you, going from a life of being on the road with a band, doing some studying and doing well, getting good MedCats, and being, having people in the audience who have a greater interest in you than music. How's that for being very, very politically correct? It was not as much fun, and the band started getting well known. The band had a hit record, and again, a decision. What do I do? What do I do? And I left medical school. I left medical school to spend some time with the band. A decision. A good decision, bad decision. We'll see. Few years later, let me skip forward a little bit. A few years later, my friend Bernie Ledden. By the way, 2 people in the Mondi Quintet went on to become the Eagles, the 3 of the 5 Eagles, or 2 of the 5 Eagles. I worked with a third one as well, and that was my connection to the band that had the largest selling album of all time, just announced about a year ago. And but during this decision hiatus, my friend Bernie Ledden is working with this young gentleman. Some of you may know Jackson Brown. And he brings a song to me and says, take a listen. What do you think? And he plays the song, and I said, this song has no chance of ever making it. It's too country. It's got too much air. Now, it's just guitar, so it's not a full band playing it. And Bernie said, you know what, we're taking the song. My friend Glenn Fry is putting the band together, and sorry that you're not interested. And, of course, whoever heard of Corner in Winslow, Arizona in a song? that would go no place. So those are some fun stories. The band goes on to become Bernie, the guy in the top center, is now on the bottom left, and they add Don Felder later on, and they become the biggest selling band of all time. Don also reminded me a few weeks ago that they not only have the #1 selling album of all time, but they have the #3 selling album of all time, his Hotel California, and don't ever forget it, he tells me. Okay, so that's what rock musicians are like. But these were all decisions. And so as you make a decision, you have to ask, what motivates you? What are you interested in? What do you want to do? What makes you happy? What makes you want to go to work every day? What's your passion? Can you combine the two? Is podiatry your passion? I've spoken to so many people since I've gotten here that say, I love to go to work every day. I'll be honest with you, if you promise not to tell my ex-CEO, because he's a good friend, compliance was not my passion, but somebody had to do it. How confident are you that you'll be successful? When you're making a decision, do you make it based on the fact that it's something you want to do, it's something you will do, and it's something that you could be professional at and successful at? And along the way, and this was what one of my mentors taught me, do you thank the tires? Now, what does that mean? Thank the tires. Well, when you go on a road trip with a car, and the car gets you there, you travel cross country in the car, and the car gets you there, you say, wow, the car did great. Well, you know what? The little things did great too. The tires got you there. Did you ever thank your tires? In the office, excuse me, in the office, do you thank your staff every day? One of my mentors taught me, thank your staff every day. They're the people that make your office run. They're the people that make the practice run. They're the people that interact more with the patient sometimes than you do. What are your chances of success? Would you do something if you knew that you weren't going to be successful? Probably not. But do you put success as part of your criteria? I want to do this because I have to. I want to do this because I need to. I want to do this because I want to. I want to do this because I'm going to be successful at it. And that's going to make me feel good and the people around me feel good. So I discover podiatry, or podiatry discovers me. I have a wart. My doctor sends me to the podiatrist on the first floor, who introduces me, since I still want to be a doctor. University of Florida said, nope, you gave up your seat, can't come back. So I sue them, I win, but I win while I'm a podiatry resident. Anyway, I discovered the Ohio College. And believe it or not, I could not find a picture of the Ohio College on the internet. I found the Ohio College of Chiropody on the internet, but all I could find was the Kent State University. I don't know if they wiped them all out or not, but that's the school, and I'm excited. I'm excited. And by the way, the doctor, the way he tried to sell me on podiatry, he said, this guy, he says, he doesn't work nights, he doesn't work weekends. Oh, and by the way, he owns the building. So I said, well, that shouldn't be part of the criteria, but it was. And so I go through podiatry school, I go through residency, and I get a job offer from this Permanente Medical Group. At the time, they have, in our area, there was one podiatrist up about 90 miles away, and he was still arguing with them about money. And the salary was very low, but the chance of advancement in salary and in leadership and in personal satisfaction was great, because they said, what we want you to do is just be full-time in the hospital and do surgery. There's a ton of foot surgery. None of the orthopedists want to do it. And you might find some other things to do, because we require, in order to be a fully contributing physician in the Permanente Medical Group, you got to do something else besides practice from 9 to 5. The other thing is, the guy who got me interested in podiatry lied, because now I'm on call. I'm coming in nights. I'm coming in on the weekends. So, and I don't own any office building. That is the hospital that I worked at. That hospital is no longer there. It was not earthquake safe. They expanded it 3 times and neglected to connect any of the buildings. So when we had an earthquake, they banged together. The patients didn't like it. The staff didn't like it. So just last year, they tore the hospital down, and we built a new hospital. And I'm proud to say that I had already moved up enough in the organization that I was asked to be the physician responsible for building this 7-story hospital. And my mentor, a wonderful woman, I said, I'm a simple country foot doctor. What do I know about building a hospital? And you know what she told me? She said, a year from now, everything. And she was right. She didn't tell me about the city wanting me to buy a fire engine. I had to go shopping for a fire engine. What you do is you surround yourself with the right kind of people. And I had huge opportunity. I got to build a trauma practice, and I still got to do my music. We had a great doctor band. Everybody, and it was all doctor executives. So I said, well, I got to get an executive position to be in this band. And one came up. I became chief of education for the entire medical group, for all specialties. And that also got me into the doctor band. Moving up in an organization, moving up in any organization, moving up in Kaiser Permanente, moving up in a band. Bands have an alpha. Somebody got to run the show, and not just the management. I mean, within the musical part. And in medicine, it's the same way. If you want to advance, you have to have a strategy to advance. I hope I'm going to be the assistant chief one day. Well, you know what? Hope is not a strategy. I hope I'm going to do 20% more next year. Hope is not a strategy. You got to have a strategy to get where you want to be. Managing failure, though, you can't be successful at everything you do. I had another mentor, and this actually happened in one day, and she just retired as well. We were at 2 half-day meetings, and at both meetings, the people who were responsible had failed. And 2 different leaders. The first group, person leading failed, and the person in charge said, I'm sorry that this didn't work out. I'm going to reassign you to another project where I think you have a better chance of success. Thank you for what you did. And how do you think that person felt? The second meeting, same type of thing, failure in a strategy, failure in the road that they took. And she said, tell me what you learned. Tell me what you would have done differently. Go back and try it again. Use a new strategy. Let's meet in 3 months and tell me how you did. That's how you shape someone's path, through support. You got to have the right people. You can't shape the path without the right people around you. I could not be successful. When I was named physician-in-chief, I had 3,500 people I was responsible for. When the cardiologist came to me and said, we want to hire a cath lab, it's like, I'm a podiatrist. Hire a cath lab. Have at it. But you surround yourself with the right people, and it's got to be the right time. It's got to be the right time. Using that same analogy, you got to need one. You got to need that lab. So in order to shape the path, hope's not a strategy. You got to know what you're doing. You got to be able to manage failure. You got to have the right people around you that can help you do what you need to do. The time has to be right. Now, along the way, through this path and through this career, the times changed. I'm just a show of hands. By the way, these bright lights remind me, when you're a musician playing to a very large audience, you can only see the first 3 rows. The whole audience thinks you're there. Just you point out at people, which is part of the show that you do, and oh yeah, I can see him. No, you can't see anybody past the 3rd row. He pointed at me. That's true. I'm in the 2nd balcony, but he knows I'm here. No, he doesn't. So by a show of hands, and I'll try and black out the lights. How many people know who this is? Okay, a few. How many people know who this is? A lot. Okay. So along the way, the point here is along the way, the times changed. And I use music as an example. Barbra Streisand is older than me, which is great. And Lady Gaga is not, but the styles are different. Things are different. How they approach the business is different. How they approach the audience is quite different. I don't know if you're aware, but backstage you can't look at Barbra Streisand. Backstage, if you don't look at Lady Gaga, she's angry. And the expectations are quite different. So what changed? What's changed? As you're shaping your path, you have to understand that, well, I've had one experience. I know how to shape a path. I've been in it for 25 years. I have 25 years experience. Well, some people have 25 years experience changing their path. Other people have one experience. It's just lasted 25 years. So the first thing that has changed is there are now 4 physician generations. And I taught a class at the California College on how to understand the other generations that are around you. If you give a Generation X or a millennial, if you give them time, you got done in the OR early. Take the afternoon off. They'll be out the door. They'll stick their head back in and say, am I getting paid for the rest of the day? Yeah, it's true. You ask someone of my generation, why don't you go home for the rest of the afternoon? You did a good job. Why don't you go home for the rest of the afternoon? You ask a baby boomer that, and they'll say, what did I do wrong? Why am I being sent home? And neither one of those is wrong or right. It's just that now you have to manage 4 physicians in the workplace, in the generation. One of the greatest changes that is responsible for my career and perhaps many of yours is the transition of DPM from allied health to DPM as physician. I would have never been made physician-in-chief of a large medical group or moved up into the executive offices and then high in the executive offices if DPMs were not considered physicians. And at least in our 9,000 physician organization, DPMs hold a lot of administrative positions that were formerly only held by physicians. So the world changed, and you have to be able to use that as you make your decisions, understanding that a decision in a group of baby boomers will be quite different from the decisions you might make in a group of Gen X's or millennials. I learned this through a position I got leading the national recruiting team. It was near the end of my career, one of the only fun jobs that I had. I got to travel around the country with a group of physicians and recruiters interviewing, and this was great to see in the last few years because we were reaching out for DPMs as well as MDs and DOs. So the national recruiting opened my eyes to the fact that the world had changed, because when you talk to these younger people and they want to know, what are my hours? Because I want to spend time with my family. I don't want to spend time doing charts in the office. So their motivation is different, and learning how to deal with that as you're shaping your own path is very, very important. And for me, what changed was increasing senior administrative roles and being trained for them, being sent to business school at University of North Carolina, being sent to my last, my current boss, well, I'm retired now, but my last boss invited 6 of us to go to the University of Michigan with him for an extended period to learn to be CEOs. And it's like, I'm never going to be a CEO. No, I want you here by my side. And it's like, hey, moving up, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. This is my path. This is where I want to go. And the problem with it is the decreasing clinical role, because I love patients. I love doing surgery. I like cutting toenails. I just like being there with the people. But the path changes, and the roles change, and so you can't take both sometimes. So you do clinical medicine, or you're going to do administration, because at one time, when you get up to a high enough position, it becomes very hard to do both. You're dealing with lawyers, you're dealing with HR issues, you're dealing with finance, all the things that we don't get trained in podiatric medical school. And I had a great trauma practice. You know, to say I'm never going to see this again is very difficult. And this is an 8-year-old who jumped out of a hayloft and onto a haystack and impaled herself on the pitchfork. Of interest, because of the negative pressure inside. It's the same as a gunshot wound, actually, and you can't pull it out because it's stuck. So one of my residents who lived on a farm, we got a bolt cutters, cut the 2 tines that are in the foot, and a wrench and twisted it to break the vacuum, and then pulled it out. Interestingly enough, she didn't hit much of anything, and went on to recover uneventfully. But to tell yourself, I'm never going to see this again, that's tough. And as part of my path, I owe thanks. And these aren't tires; these are mega buses. I got to be president of the California Podiatric Medical Association, where I learned how to deal with leadership at a more personal level. I got to be president of the American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons, where again, at a little bit higher level, a national level, but again, following the path and learning how to deal with different generations and deal with different situations, unrelated to the administrative practice that I had when I was the assistant physician-in-chief, and then finally being appointed physician-in-chief, which the first DPM to be at that was just a huge honor. And your colleagues nominate you. The CEO selects from the nominees, and then the board has to approve. So you got to go through 3 levels, and it's probably all 4 of these that helped shape my path, that got me to where I am, and to where and to understand through the education that you do need to shape your own path. I still stay in touch. I like tickets. Bernie and Don are still both musicians. The picture on the right is actually backstage at Madison Square Garden. My wife has had enough Eagles to last her the rest of her life. We got an invitation when, I don't know if you saw that 4-hour infomercial, I call it, the history of the Eagles, and Bernie went back into the band for that and invited us to opening night. My wife said, I'm not going to any more Eagles concerts. I said, it's in Madison Square Garden. She said, what time do we leave? And so we still stay in touch. Musicians get old just like doctors. I get promoted to the executive office as part of my path and work directly for the CEO. I still play bass guitar in 2 bands. I get to follow my passion. I get to keep going on this path. My path was structured. Other people helped me structure it. I had great mentors. I tried to be a mentor to other people. I still want to play in the band. I still take lessons. I just retired from the executive offices of a 9,000 physician, $13 billion medical group. And it's been great so far. I still get treated very well by the band. Whenever they're in town, I get my passes and my stick-ons. I'm not going to give that up. I still have to buy the damn tickets, though. I don't get that. I just don't get that. And I very often I get asked, are you sorry you didn't stay in music? And the answer is clearly, no, I'm not. I've got an amazing family. I've had an amazing career. The path has absolutely been wonderful. I wouldn't have changed a thing, except maybe I might have had a different opinion about that stand out on a corner in Winslow, Arizona thing. So how is the road taken? That famous philosopher Joe Walsh, guitar player for the Eagles now, wrote a song called Life's Been Good to Me So Far. And that's the way I answer. When people say, are you sorry? I go, no way. Life has been good to me so far. I've had a great path. I've been able to shape it myself. So I ask in the end, what's your passion? What excites you? What makes you feel great? And what's your path? And now, again, hope is not a way to get there. You've got to have a passion. You've got to have structure. You've got to surround yourself with the right people. It's got to be the right time. You've got to realize that the time has changed. And so, where are you going? And how are you going to get there? And I want to thank APMA for the invitation and the opportunity to address you. And I hope that we've educated a little, entertained a little, and no, I can't get you tickets. Thank you. Thank you very much. Very kind. Very kind. And now I think Jim, Christina, and I are going to have a little talk for a few minutes, and a little fireside chat, and a big drink of water.
Barry, thank you. That was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you. It was
very,
fun.
very educational. So, as you've gone through your path taken, what has been the hardest decision you had to make along the road you've taken?
Oh, I'd say there's, well, the hardest one to me clearly was having to give up clinical medicine. I love my patients. I love being in the OR. I actually liked it when the resident would turn the screwdriver 1/4 of a turn too many, and 2 bones would turn into 6. I felt bad for the patient, but now is the chance to educate and to say, all right, so something went wrong. So now how do we fix it? How do we fix it? Because surgery doesn't always go right. If you say your surgery always goes right, you're either not doing surgery or you're lying. One of the two. Things go wrong. You know, and teaching the residents how to deal with bleeding and how to deal with other comorbidities. But giving up the clinical practice. The other one is, and you know this, and Dr. Edwards knows this, and other members of the board know this, your family suffers. You miss out on things.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And that's hard, and that's hard. And you get reminded of it every once in a while. And that's a different path. That's a different path.
Exactly.
Pardon? Yeah, the highway to hell. The highway to hell.
So, what's been your biggest challenge you've come across being a podiatrist in an administrative role in an allopathic world?
I think the biggest challenge was building the hospital. When she said you're gonna be responsible for building the hospital, and I said, what do I do? Get out there with a hammer and nails, and crazy things crop up. We uncovered a Native American, the bones of a Native American, and in California, that stops. This is $1 billion hospital. Stopped. Construction stopped, and they call me and they say, "What do you want to do?" And it's like, I know there's something right to do, and there's people that tell you, you call your lawyer, the lawyer tells you what to call it, and I say, next time you come across some bones, just kick them over this side. No, we know, and the shaman has to come, and you actually move the bones. In building the hospital, as they were reconstructing the freeway for the ambulances to come off, they had a Native American garbage pit. And they had to reroute the freeway because they couldn't move. It was just all oyster shells. They couldn't move the freeway. That was a very, very difficult. I had to buy a fire engine. You know, what do I know about buying a fire engine? They're either red or they're puce or whatever color. We'll take the puce one. I know more about traffic patterns than I ever wanted to know about. And learning about finance and all those things, it's challenging moving from a clinical role to to administrative role.
Absolutely, and we're not really trained for that as podiatrists. That's not part of our training to be administrators.
If you show leadership potential in our organization, you're developed. I got sent early on to a business course at USC for a couple of weeks. Then later on, the University of North Carolina for business school, the University of Michigan for the CEO strategy program. So I learned along the way. I learned what to do. I learned what not to do. I also learned that there's an awful lot you don't know, and an awful lot of people who do know the answer, and you surround yourself with those people. I mean, I really did build an IR cath lab with people who know how to build an IR cath lab. So, yeah, I think that was the hardest challenge was when she said, "You're going to build the hospital." I'm looking around to see who she's talking to, because it can't possibly be me. So, but it was.
And you were really groundbreaking, because you were as you said, you were accepted, podiatry got accepted as physicians in the Kaiser group, which really at the time, and as we continue to fight for parity, Kaiser has already done that. I mean, the role that you were able to play as a podiatrist, it didn't matter that you were a podiatrist. It was a skill set you developed and brought as a leader in the administration.
When I was hired, they told me, "You will never be a partner in this medical group, and you will never be considered a physician." And my wife he's dead now. She said, "Don't ever tell Barry never. It may take him a while, it may cost him more." But it took 27 years to become a shareholder in the company, which cost a lot more to buy into than it would have 27 years earlier. But we became shareholders. We were the first company where the Kaiser Permanente is one organization, one hospital company, one insurance company. The medical groups, the Permanente medical groups, are all separate medical groups. So when I say a 9,000 member medical group, that's just Northern California. We are the Permanente medical group. Southern California, DC, Maryland, Virginia is the Mid-Atlantic medical group. And all but one are partners now.
Yeah,
so we share equally and have administrative positions, many assistant physicians in chief. One may soon become another physician in chief, but it was quite an honor to be selected the first physician in chief.
Absolutely. So what do you see in store for the future of medicine?
Well, that's a great question, because there's so many things happening. First of all, no matter where you are politically, we don't know what's going to happen. We just don't know what's going to happen. But in the big picture, it's big data and understanding, and the creation of algorithm, practice by algorithm. The Intermountain Health has, if you practice in Intermountain Health in the ICU, you follow an algorithm unless the patient falls outside the algorithm, and if they do, then you use your medical skills. If they don't, and the patients don't do as well, they rapidly free your future employment opportunity. How's that? So that's one piece. Big data and analyzing what it is we do, down to the treatment of ulcers. There's going to be enough data to say, this is the way you do it. And probably cost reduction in the form of, and I'll explain this a little bit, in the form of alternative to the doctor's office visit. Because millennials want to be seen on the phone. And so we have video visits or telephone visits. Now, if you break your ankle, you can't do it by a video visit. So there still is an extreme need for higher end work. If you ever read Clay Christensen, all three of his books are about the same, but The Innovator's Dilemma is a good start, or The Healthcare Prescription. What he talks about is knocking off the lower end. That is, keeping people out of your office to make room for the people who need to be in your office. And so there's some danger in doing that. You lose some of the personal touch. And so alternatives to the doctor's office visit aren't necessarily bad, because you need, if you can cut out 25% of your visits, listen for a second. You cut off 25% of your need for space. You cut off 25% of your need for staff. So there's a balance in doing that. You can communicate with your patients much faster. Some people, that doesn't eliminate the need to come in. And then there's the personal downside of that, and that is that you lose the connection that you have with the people. I haven't seen my doctor in 3 years. We do everything by phone, and it works. But if I need to come in, we always ask, do you want to come in? I built the access model. It's evolved since then. But it's the patient's choice. Do you want to come in? Do you not want to come in? There was a quick study done on hernias and gallbladders, done endoscopically. And 100 patients, you can come in at a week or you can call it a week unless you're having a complication. What percentage of patients wanted to call at 1 week?
Probably 80 or 90%.
91%. 91% were happy with the phone call. And so imagine what that does to free up the room for patients who really, really need to be seen. And then finally, the monetization of practices. You know, it sounds exciting to sell your group, to sell your practice, to become a partner in a larger group for a whole bunch of money, except now you're working for somebody. And sometimes it works and works beautifully, and other times it's a challenge when you say, you can't take off, we need you to be generating money.
So in the future, will there continue to be a need for podiatric physicians and surgeons? And if so, where do they fit in the future model of healthcare delivery?
So I guess my answer will be limited by my experience with Kaiser Permanente, but I also have experience with Mayo and Geisinger and Henry Ford, and podiatry will always be there. The training gets better every year. I watch some of the work that some of our residents do now, and I say, whoa, take a step back, stop putting frames on ingrown toenails. But there'll always be a need. I think the acceptance of podiatric physicians as physicians, I think you're doing a wonderful job creating the relationships that make that happen, because it is relationships that are responsible for the changes. It's skills and relationships.
Absolutely.
And I see a bright future for podiatric medicine and surgery. I think some of the work will go to lesser, I shouldn't say lesser, this is the Clay Christensen model. Really, if you get a chance, read the Innovator's Prescription. It's very, very well thought out, and he is a self-made person. He did it in tech, he did it in the auto industry, now he's doing it in medicine. To free up space for us to do the best work that we can do for our patients. And sometimes it requires ancillary skills. But that lets you do the more complicated things for better reimbursement too. And you're working on the reimbursement end.
Yeah, and absolutely. And that's not that shouldn't be seen as a threat. That should really be seen as the ability to do more of what you really want to do. And
as an opportunity, but you got to have strategy. We don't hope that we're going to make it through all this. Okay, hope is not a strategy. You're executing the strategy by meeting with the right people, by recognizing the successes, and I've seen a lot of people thank the tires, and I think that's important. You got to thank the ones that got you there.
so finally, what advice would you give people that want to enjoy a successful retirement?
I don't know. I haven't had time to be retired. It really is amazing. I was, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? It's been 3 weeks. My wife said, no, it's been 3 months. You've been retired already. Where'd the time go? Have something to retire to. Stay connected. Stay connected. When you read the Blue Zone things, the places where people live long and healthy lives, there are some things that they do. They eat well. They exercise, usually in form of a lot of work. They stay connected. They stay connected to a community. I still am connected to it. I play in 2 bands. That's my community of musicians. I ride a Harley Davidson. I stay connected to that community. They're not as much fun as the musicians, some of them, but it gives me something to do. I sail. I stay connected to that community. I have 4 grandkids. I'm very connected to that community. So stay connected, and I have a strategy for where I want to go next. And it's not hope. Yes, I hope I live a long life, but I have a strategy to do it as well. And I want to thank you for the invitation.
Well,
this was incredible.
Barry, thank you. Congratulations on a great career. Enjoy your retirement.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Barry, thank you so much. You truly are a rock star in this profession, and we appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your experience with us today. I would challenge all of you out there to discover what motivates you today. We commend you for being motivated to be here. Let me tell you, we have a strong strategy for you in APMA, and we try extremely hard to be connected. We encourage you to reach out to the great tools and resources we put in your hands. Next year, we'll be on the East Coast in a very popular destination of Boston. We hope to see many of you there as we make history next year. In the meantime, we again welcome you to Salt Lake City. I hope you'll have a great time exploring this beautiful host city. This evening at 7:30, the Tabernacle Choir has a free rehearsal in the Conference Center just across Temple Square, so within easy walking distance of where we're at. This is my own backyard, and I think you'll find it as stunning as I do. We invite you to join us now in the exhibit hall as we open our grand opening in the exhibit halls A, B, and C. During the grand opening, you can be able to scan there. It's that big sign that says scan here. That's it. And as you come, take your time to thank all of our terrific companies who have helped support us here in our events. Our National has nearly 200 exhibitors who are here, and if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have as great a meeting as we do. Particularly, please stop by and thank Baco Diagnostics for their generous sponsorship of this opening session. They have been a sponsor for many years here with us, and we appreciate their outstanding support. We appreciate all the other sponsors who are with us that make this meeting able to be delivered in exceptional fashion. So, plan to stay in the grand exhibit hall during the entire session from 9:30 to 10:30. And if you are present there, you have an opportunity at the end of that session to win a one-year free membership to APMA. So if you don't want to pay your dues this year, next year, stay there through that exhibit hall opening at 10:30 and we'll award somebody a free membership. Thanks again for being here. Have a wonderful experience at the National.